Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. And this week we're going to talk about Put a Ring on It, Season 2, Episode 3, Doubling Down. So on this particular episode, Dr. Nicole has given them a new assignment, something that's never been done on this show before. And instead of like the girls going out on a date with a guy, or the guy's going on a date with another girl, what Dr. Nicole has them doing this week is they're all going to go out on a date, and they're going to go out on the date at the same time in the same vicinity, in the same location. So let's start off with Jessica and Eric. So their scene starts off with Jessica's date arrives first. His name is Clarence. Very well built, muscles all over the place, muscles and tattoos all over the place. Cute in the face, nice body, everything is looking great. So when he comes into the home and they're all introducing each other, introducing themselves to each other, Eric seems really laid back, and he seems, he's happy, he's smiling, he's joking around, he doesn't seem bothered, he doesn't seem stressed out about it. He's very easygoing, and he's really cool with it all. He handled it all pretty well. Clarence was very respectful. Eric was very low key. Everything went great with the introduction. So they get to the restaurant, and I think was there chemistry between Clarence and Jessica? I think there was. He was obviously attracted to her. She's a very pretty girl. And I think she was also attracted to him because he does have a very nice body, very nice face. So I think there was some chemistry there. And then Eric, when he meets his date, her name was Tanisha. When he meets his date, Tanisha, she was very pretty. A very pretty girl. She was, she kind of had the same characteristics as Jessica, as far as, really pretty face, being very light-skinned. They were kind of similar, except that Tanisha had a little bit more meat on her bones. Now, she wasn't fat, she wasn't obese, she wasn't chunky. I wouldn't even call her chubby. She just had a little bit more meat on her bones than Jess. And I knew right away that Eric probably wasn't going to be feeling all of that voluptuousness. And she's not even that big. Okay. She's just a little bit bigger than Jess. And there are some people who can date or be with anyone. They'll date people older, younger, taller, shorter, bigger, smaller, different races, different socioeconomic classes. They'll date a little bit of everything. And then there are people who definitely have a type, and they stick to that type. And Eric seems like someone who definitely has a type, and he sticks to that type. And that type is Jessica. Very small, petite. I'm gonna leave it at that. But it seems like he likes his girls a certain size, and Tanisha is probably something that he would not normally go for outside of the experiment, but he gave it a chance. He kept an open mind. Unlike some people on other shows who don't get exactly what they want and they throw a tantrum. So he kept it very mature. They went out to the restaurant. Jess and her date Clarence are there, and Jess was distracted. Okay, she was a little bit distracted. She kept on looking over at Eric and his date. Eric and his date were not distracted. They're very much in tune with each other. He didn't pay Jess too much attention over there. I think the only time that he gave her any attention was when he told his date, that's my girlfriend over there. And, that was basically it. And then they got over it, and they just continued on their date. And they had shots, and they were drinking, and they were conversating, and he really made a point to say that he really enjoyed Tanisha's conversation. And that was something that's something that's missing from him and Jessica's relationship, because obviously when he saw it, they met, I think she said on Instagram. So he slipped into her DMs because she was really pretty, really hot. And basically, I think their relationship just kind of stayed on the physical. And I think with Tanisha, he's experiencing something that can go deeper, that she may not be someone that he would go after, but she is something that he was definitely interested in, because he really enjoyed the conversation that he had with her. Now, Jess and her date, she like I said, it looked like there was chemistry between them. They did like each other, but Jessica was a little bit distracted by Eric and his date. Now, when they came home after their dates, Eric told Jessica that, hey, he really enjoyed his date with Tanisha, and he really enjoyed their conversation. And he said that that is something that was definitely missing from his relationship with Jessica. And when he was telling her this, it was definitely, hurting her. Let me see exactly what he said here. He said that he wanted Jess to open up more like Tanisha. Now, I don't know what deep, soul-searching conversations Eric and Tanisha had, because he didn't show it on the show. So I'm just going to take his word for it that there was some really deep conversation going on. It looked like they definitely had a nice time. The conversation was definitely flowing. They're laughing. They're really enjoying each other's time. But I didn't see in that short amount of time any type of deep soul searching conversation that he kept on highlighting on when he was talking to Jessica about Tanisha. He said also that he just kept on talking to Jessica about how, the conversation with Tanisha was really good, and that's something he's really looking for, and that him and Jessica don't share that same thing. And that really hurt her feelings, because she started to cry. And I mean, what do you say? You can get a man with a pretty face, but if this is a real man and he's really about developing a relationship and growing with someone, you're going to have to come with something more than that. And she said to him, she was like, you know what? Me and you have deep conversations. And I guess they're not deep enough, or they don't have deep conversations often enough, but it's something that he's definitely, he's really yearning for. He's yearning for something deeper, because he even said, I'm not sure if he said it to Jessica at their apartment or if he said it at the therapy session with Dr. Nicole, but at some point he did say that it has to be more than physical. You can get a man with a nice body and a pretty face, but you really can't. That's not going to be enough to sustain a real man who's really looking for something. And if you really want the relationship to move forward, to possibly marriage and family and all of that, a real man is probably going to need something more than a pretty face, because you can find a pretty face, a dime a dozen. Let's see what else is going on with them. So at the therapy session, when they met with the other couples and Dr. Nicole, once again, Eric brought up how, talking to Tanisha was great. He really enjoyed talking to her, and he wanted his conversations with Jessica to have more depth. And he did tell Dr. Nicole that he just really wasn't attracted to her. That's just not his cup of tea. And he did not want to go out on a second date with Tanisha, but Jessica did want to go out on a second date with Clarence. Now, that's another thing that I want to talk about is on this particular episodes, on these so-called group dates. It seemed like, not even the group dates, I think like with the whole show, them going out on dates with other people. It seems like the whole purpose, Dr. Nicole does a good job in letting them know what this whole experiment is about. This whole experiment is about getting out of this rut. This is for people who need to make a decision of whether or not they're going to actually move it forward and get married, or basically go their separate ways, but they can't stay where they are. And for Dr. Nicole to have them go out on these dates to experience something different with someone else, for them to come to that decision, and how you have to trust the process and just go with the flow. It's really about obviously doing some soul searching within yourself to figure out exactly what you want. And if you're really meant to be with that person, your partner is not going to feel threatened by you going out with someone else, and you're not going to feel threatened with your partner going out with someone else. But a lot of these couples on this particular show, put a ring on it, a lot of these couples have a lot of insecurities, and they get so threatened by their partners going out with someone else. Because look, if your boyfriend goes out on a date with another woman, you should feel comfortable enough to be like, well, if he does decide to continue to see this other woman, or if he seems like he's enjoying going out with different people, then this is what I need. This is the clarity that I need to figure out what to do with my life from here on out. Them going out with other people should be a tool that you use for yourself to decide whether or not you need to stay or you need to move on. So, but instead what they do, a lot of these couples, is that they guilt their partners into either I'm going to make you so jealous that you're going to want to marry me, from the female's perspective, or I'm going to make you so jealous that you're going to be happy being in this rut with me. We're not going to move forward. We're not going to move backward. We're going to stay in this rut, and you're going to be happy about it because I've made you so jealous that you're like, you know what? I'd rather be with you, ring or not, than be without you because I don't want you to be with anyone else. It seems like that's what they're really trying to do. What the couples are always trying to do. Get your partner so jealous to the point where they're going to be happy being in the rut, and they're not going to want to move forward, and they're not going to want to leave you. That's what it seems like to me. So moving on to our next couple, Sean and LaRonda. Okay, Sean and LaRonda. Here we go. So Sean is a very sensitive man. And he did say that he's very emotional and he's very sensitive. And he's very much into his feelings. I think this is a big burden for LaRonda to carry. I think Sean needs therapy for himself. He's carrying a lot of baggage from his childhood. There's issues there, obviously, with his parents. I'm not exactly clear what the issue is. The only thing that I heard him say was that he doesn't want to be like his dad. And then he said that the only example that I heard, if he gave another one, I wasn't paying attention. But the only example that I heard him give about his dad was that he was the kind of person that would go to work, put the money on the table every Friday, and then leave. So, like, I really wasn't clear on what was he cheating on his mother? Was he abusive towards his mother? But he says that he had a lot of trauma growing up. Okay. Sean seems like someone who is carrying so much pain. He needs therapy for himself before he can be in any kind of relationship with anybody else. He needs therapy for himself. And for LaRonda to make decisions with her life be centered around what would make Sean happy or not is just so toxic and so wrong on so many levels. But let's move on. Okay, so she goes out with Sir James. She did not want to go out with her previous date. And she didn't want to go out with him because she said that Sean wouldn't like it. Okay, so now she's going out with Sir James. He's tall. He was dressed all in black. He had a black turtleneck, black pants. He was clean shaven except for a goatee, and very attractive man, extremely attractive man. And when they were leaving for their date, Sean made a point to say to LaRonda, "You don't even like men who don't have beards," because Sean has a full beard and this man just had a goatee. Okay, so they're at the restaurant and everything is fine. They're vibing, they're conversating, whatever. And then at the same time, Sean is meeting his date, and her name was Brittany. He meets up with Brittany. Now, that was him and Brittany, no, that didn't work out. Total dud. I think it was completely dead. That's what I think. So he meets up with Brittany. He found her attractive, and she was a very attractive girl. They're at the restaurant, at the same restaurant with LaRonda and her date, Sir James. And the whole entire time, Sean is very distracted by LaRonda and her date. Now, LaRonda and Sir James are doing their own thing. When Sean and Brittany came in, they kind of gave them a glance and they kept it going with their own date. They didn't pay them no mind. They were laughing, drinking, having a good time. On the other hand, Sean gave all of his attention to LaRonda and Sir James and could not concentrate on Brittany, which was very disrespectful to Brittany. And Brittany realized it. She noticed it. And she was kind of like, like, what's happening here? And he could not control himself. He was so focused on LaRonda and Sir James, he gave Brittany no attention and completely did her a disservice. So I felt kind of bad for that. When LaRonda and Sir James decided to leave because I guess, Sean was staring them down. When they decided to leave, as they were walking out, of course, Sean had his laser beams on them. And as they were walking out, Sir James happened to put his hand on the small of her back. And of course, Sean was really triggered by this. And it was like, it was no big deal. He wasn't touching her butt. It was just a natural gesture, kind of like guiding her in front of him. And his hand happened to rest at the small of her back. And Sean zoned in on that. And this became an issue at their therapy session. So at their therapy session, he talked about how he couldn't concentrate on his date because he was so focused on LaRonda. And he talked about the hand situation and how it bothered him. Dr. Nicole made a good point. I don't remember all that she said, but she made such a good point. And I wish I could articulate what she said, but I'm not going to be able to. But she was basically like, these issues that you're having, the issue wasn't about Sir James. The issue wasn't about the hand on her back. You are internalizing your own issues. And basically, she said something to the effect of, before she even went out on this date, you already have the story planned out in your head. And so whether you would have seen what you saw or whether that happened or it didn't happen, you were going to have the same reaction no matter what. So he already has it in his mind that basically, he's not going to go with the process. He's not going to allow the process just to happen naturally because he's already have it in his mind that he's not going to like her going out with anybody is not going to be good for him. It's not going to be good for him at all. And then I realized, I don't want to say this because he obviously had gone through a lot of stuff in his life. But last week, after a therapy session, when he was crying and talking about his childhood and growing up and all the pain that he endured, I kind of felt like it was a manipulation tactic. Kind of like, because he went through so much, and he doesn't want to repeat the things that his parents did, which makes me wonder, what did your parents do? Like, were they cheating was your dad cheating on your mom cheating on your dad? Was it an abusive, like a physically and emotionally abusive relationship? So he has this thing where he doesn't want to repeat what his parents did in his own relationship. And like, he's using that to guilt LaRonda into not leaving him. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I'm kind of wondering, is LaRonda with him because she really wants to be with him? Or is she with him because she feels like she has a duty to be with him? Kind of like she'd be the bad girlfriend if she left a broken man. But if he's broken, he needs to be healed before he can be in a relationship with anyone. So I kind of feel bad for LaRonda. It's like, if she wants to, let the process happen, if she wants to explore other options, his emotional issues are like holding her back and pulling her back. So whether or not LaRonda's going to go out on a second date, or if he was going to go out on a second date, that was the cliffhanger of the show. We don't know. We'll find out next week, I guess. Moving on to Darian and Alexia. So Darian went out on a date previously with Kai, and he wanted to go out on another date with Kai. Now, let me tell y'all about Darian and Kai. I think that it's just a physical thing. He just wants a pass to be physical with another female. And this show is probably giving him that pass. I don't know how far they can take it on the show. But it really seems like I didn't really see like any kind of connection between him and Kai other than a very physical connection. That's the only connection that I saw. So she's very tempting to him, and she came on so strong. Kai kind of strikes me as the kind of girl that all she really has to offer is the physical. That's how she strikes me. Like, that's how she gets men hooked. She doesn't get them hooked on her intellectualism. Not to say that she doesn't have it, but that's not a tool that she uses to attract men and to keep men. So I think with Kai, it's her body, her sexuality. That is what she uses to lure them in and to hopefully keep them. Because she came on really strong with Darian. And of course, Darian, he's taking the bait. So he went on the first date, and then this is his second date with her. And then Alexia, she didn't want to go back with whoever she went out with last week. I forgot his name, but he was also very muscly. She is the mask guy, because he was in their apartment with his mask on. So she has a new date, which is Desi. Now, when I saw Desi, because she was waiting for him on the outside of their building. It was raining. She had an umbrella, and then he walks up to her, and looked at her face very closely to see her initial reaction to him, which really didn't give me much. But I didn't think that she had a connection with him, because the kind of guy that Darian is, I don't think Desi's that kind of guy. Darian, he's an entertainer. He was in some rap group that I never heard of. But Desi he was sort of like, he came across initially to me like a college boy, not immaturity level, just kind of like really young looking, really young dressing. Because when these guys go out on these dates, the kind of men that they fix up the women with, these men come on smooth, with really nice, just very mature attire. And Desi had on a t-shirt and jeans, and his attire made him look younger than he actually was, because he kind of looked like a college kid to me. But once he started talking, I saw the maturity in him. But anyways, so Kai is there with Darian, and Alexia is there with Desi. Now, the whole time, of course, Alexia is very distracted by Darian and Kai. She can't concentrate on Desi. Desi tries several times to pull her back in to their date, and she just can't let go. And she says that it's hard for her to concentrate on her date with him because she keeps hearing her name in their conversation. I didn't hear it, but she said she kept on hearing her name in the conversations between Darian and Kai. Darian and Kai paid her no mind. They were laughing. They were doing their own thing. She was, Kai was being Kai, trying to seduce him. And doing a good job at it, because Darian wasn't paying too much attention to Alexa. He did, I think, in the beginning, but, Kai pulled him back in. So then one of them says, I'm not sure if I think it was Kai, said, well, I don't know, maybe it was Darian, said, let's get out of here. It's just too much. It's too much in here. We're getting unwanted attention, so let's just leave. So they get up and they leave. And of course, as they're walking out of the restaurant, Alexia is like, laser focused on them. Completely forgot that Desi was even there. And Desi was like, why are you looking at them? Why are you giving them any attention? Alexia doesn't hear it. So as Kai and Darian are walking out, Kai is leading Darian out of the restaurant by the hand. And Kai reacts. And she starts shouting, no hands, no hands. No hand holding, something to that effect. And Darian looks at her, mischievously, and just laughs and keeps on walking out with her man. And of course, this rubbed Kai the wrong way. Now, I'm glad that she showed restraint and didn't get out of her seat. But I'm like, Alexia, what are you doing? This is what happens. And Dr. Nicole said, there are no boundaries or no limits. You can do whatever you want to do, because that's part of the process and trying to figure out. Now, if you naturally don't want to be touched because you want to show respect to your significant other, fine. That's discovering something about yourself. But let Kai lead him out by the hand. Let Kai lead him out by whatever she wants to hold on to. Fine, let it happen. Because if he doesn't want that, if he doesn't like that, he's going to realize that. And he's going to, come back to you, or realize he doesn't want neither you nor Kai, or whatever the situation is. But you can't control the situation to get the outcome that you want. You have to just let things happen naturally to figure out if it's meant to be. So, girl, let it happen. She was so disturbed by that. And then when they had their therapy session, and I felt bad for Desi, I really did, because he really tried, but Alexia was not there. So at their therapy session, now on his confessional, his one-on-one time with the camera, at his confessional, Darian said that when they fight, they tend to fight really dirty. Now that's a big, big red flag. I don't like that. I don't think any couple should ever hit below the belt. I don't think any couple should ever disrespect the other. Now, human nature, when you're angry and you're hurt, you're going to lash out and you're going to say some things that you're going to regret saying. But I think the goal in life is to always have control of your feelings, control over your emotions, and control over your words. And understand that this person that you chose to be with, you should always treat them with the utmost respect and care and love. And even when y'all are having disagreements, that respect, that care, and that love should still be there, because you can love and disagree. You can love each other and disagree, because your children, like for example, with your children can do things that can make you really upset, but you still love them, and you still, at least, I hope as parents, when we are showing our children that we disapprove of something that they do, we do it out of love and not out of anger. And I think it should be the same thing with your spouse. If they do something that you don't approve of, that you don't agree with, something that you felt like it hurt you, y'all should both as adults be able to come together and have a conversation about it and try to come to some type of resolution, in a very mature way. Not cussing each other out, lashing out, saying things that are very, very hurtful, saying things that even if you come back and you say, I'm sorry, that person is still going to be hurt by the things that you said. So when people say, oh, well, when we fight really dirty, I'm thinking this is a sign that y'all both need to leave, or y'all both need to try to find some maturity and end it. But anyway, so that's what he said. So I'm saying, something else that happened that I gotta talk about. On her date with Darian, on Alexia's date with Desi, she kept on talking about Darian. And Desi didn't want to hear about that, because the first thing she says is, do you know who he is? And he was like, yeah, I know he is. He's from whatever rap group. I don't think it's Goody Mob, right? I don't remember. So I know Goody Mob. Anyways, moving on. So she tells Desi, you know who he is? And he says, yeah, he's from whatever rap group. And then he says, why are you even talking about him? You're on this date with me. Why are you even talking about him? And then she says something to the effect of, well, he's always telling me that he's in the studio. He's always in the studio. Kind of like she's implying that he's lying to her, that he's not at the studio. Or if he is at the studio, he's not there making music. And he was like, I don't want to talk about that. And I was kind of like, anyways. So then Desi says to her, that he's playing you. And then she was like, he's playing me. Now, Alexia did not like that when he said that to her, because she was like, what do you mean he's playing me? And he was like, 14 years and no ring. He's playing you. Alexia comes off as someone who, because she's an athlete, she's physically strong, mentally strong, she thinks that she's emotionally strong as well. And she thinks that, she's in this situation because this is how she wants it to be. Like, she doesn't like to show any kind of vulnerability, and the thought that maybe you're in this situation because you're being manipulated by him and being in this situation, that he's the one that's really calling all the shots, he's the one that's leading you into a 14-year relationship that you're not really happy with. I don't think that concept has ever come to her mind, that she's the one that is being played, being manipulated, because she kind of comes off like she's a strong woman and she don't take no mess from nobody and she don't let nobody play her. But I think that, no, you are being played, because 14 years on again, off again, it seems like I'm thinking she wants to get married. Maybe he wants to get married too. And I'm like, okay, why aren't y'all married if that's what y'all both want? And if it's something that both of you don't want, if only one of you wants it, then anyways, so that's why they're here. They need to make a decision. We're going to get married or we're going to go our separate ways. So here we are. But I like that. Desi, to me, seems like someone who's really dropping gems. But Alexia was so focused on Kai and Darian's date that she completely ignored it, because she was so... she should have listened to what he said. You know what? It would have been a good thing for Desi and her to really talk about, why are you in a 14-year relationship that you're not happy with? Because obviously she's not happy in it. And for him to want to go on a second date with Kai, who I feel like Kai is not really offering much other than the obvious. If that's enough to distract him, it's kind of like he's not on that mature level yet. If you can be distracted by a girl that's just trying to put her booty in your face, and that's can distract you from your main girl, your main chick, then he still has a lot of maturing to do, because a real man is not going to fall for the cheapest, the cheapest tricks in the book. He's not going to fall for that. But anyways, and the funny thing that Kai had said in the beginning of their date, when they were on their way to the restaurant, Kai said that she does not play side chick to nobody. And I'm like, that's your whole role in this show, is to be the side chick, to see if he wants to be with the side chick or with the main chick. You are the side chick on the show. I was confused about that. But how did that end? She did not want to go out with Desi. But he definitely wanted to go out with Kai again. Go figure, right? Anyways, so thank you for joining me, and hopefully you will be back next time for another review of another show. Bye, everybody.